The way recessions tend to work is that you get to some tipping point and there's a confluence of factors that kind of come together that nobody really predicts, and that starts to snowball.
What do you see happening right now? What are the indicators telling you? Is that a fair question? Or if you want to reword that for yourself, I have no problem without prognosticating, but yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Let's start with a little bit of backstory, because I think, I don't know if I take it for granted, or maybe a lot of people take it for granted, that there are certain givens that about the economy, but not. Here's a big point. The economy works in cycles. We talk about like when the next recession's coming, how quickly it's going to get here, how long it's going to last. Occasionally I'll hear people say, do you think a recession's coming? Do you think there's going to be another recession? And maybe they're just wording it incorrectly, or maybe they really don't get the fact that it's not a question of if the next recession's coming. The next recession is coming. Now, is it coming tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now? Nobody knows. But the next recession is coming. The economy works in cycles. And if you look back historically over the last 160 years, there have been 33 cycles. Now, I'm not a math genius, but if you take 160 years, you take 33 cycles, you divide 160 by 33. And what you find is that we have an economic cycle, and an economic cycle is an uptick, a top, a downtick, a bottom, and then the start again. That full cycle, that's happened on average every 5.5 years over the last century and a half. So a lot of people think, because again, a lot of young people here, a lot of young people in real estate, a lot of people who didn't really pay attention to the economy until 2008. And here we are since 2008, it's been 11 years, and we're still in the midst of this economic expansion. We're still in the midst of this cycle. So a lot of people don't think back or weren't around before 2008 and don't realize that this is common. Having an expansion, having the economy go up and then having the economy go down and then up again, that's just something that happens over and over again. And typically speaking, it happens every 5 to 6 years. Now, over the last 50 or 60 years, it's lasted a little bit longer. It's been an average about 6.5 years. But what we've seen since 2008 is a real anomaly. This is the longest economic cycle that this country has ever seen. So certainly we can talk about, are there things that are happening in government, politics, monetary policy, fiscal policy that are influencing this cycle and dragging it out? Absolutely. There are probably things that are affecting. 2008 was a different type of recession than we typically see, so that affected it. So people talk about, is this time different? Maybe it's a little different, but long story short, the recession is coming. And after that, an expansion's coming, and then another recession's coming, another expansion's coming. And it's going to keep going for probably as long as this country is around. So that's the first thing I want to get out, is that the recession's coming. Now, second thing I want to get out is, if somebody tells you they think they know, or they think they can predict when the next recession is coming, I think that's BS. I don't think there's anybody, I don't care how long you've studied economics, I don't care who you are, nobody knows when the next recession's coming. The way recessions tend to work is that you get to some tipping point and there's a confluence of factors that kind of come together that nobody really predicts, and that starts to snowball. Mm-hmm. And that snowball could have started 6 months ago and we don't know. It could start today, it could start next week, next month, next year, we don't know. So I'm not going to try and predict. I know everybody wants to know, how long do you think before the next? I'm not even going to try and predict. I will talk about the things that are indicators that can give us an idea, but I'm not going to predict. And then the next question becomes, how bad is the next recession going to be, and how long is it going to last? The how bad question, that's a really tough question, because again, it's a snowball effect. And depending on what that snowball picks up as it's moving along, depending on all the things that kind of break in the midst of the recession, it could be really bad. It could be not so bad. And maybe we recover quickly and we push out some of the issues that we're currently seeing to the next recession. Maybe the next one's going to be a lot worse. In terms of how long it lasts, that one's actually a little bit easier of a question. And there is data out there that we can look at, that we can say there are certain things going on in the economy right now that will help us kind of discern what the length of the next recession might be. Is it going to be longer than typical? Is it going to be shorter than typical? So that's kind of all the backstory.